I'm Bill Hahn with the John Birch Society, and I'm here today with Oklahoma State Senator Randy Brogdon. Randy, since you've been in the state legislature and in your campaign for governor, you caught the eye of those in the Tea Party movement and other limited government advocates. Can you tell us how this has come about?
Well, primarily, as I've been serving in the state Senate, I have realized that there have been a lot of legislation come across my desk that is really subversive to our states' rights, to the individual sovereignty that we have as citizens and certainly as states. And the Tea Party movement, by and large, is a byproduct of the people who have, I think, awakened to the fact that our freedom is being limited. Our state sovereignty has literally been stripped away from us by federal government, by unconstitutional acts that are being passed by the feds. And so the Tea Party is just, I think, a byproduct of people waking up to the fact, wanting to do something about reclaiming what's rightfully ours, and that's freedom.
Fantastic, thank you. I guess a number of state legislators are now reporting that a few special interest groups are pushing the idea of a constitutional convention. In the Birch Society, we call it a con-con,
right,
as a way to pass amendments to the U.S. Constitution rather than going through the proper channels in Congress. As a state senator, how do you feel about calling for a constitution? Well,
there is a move for constitutional conventions that's kind of sweeping the country right now. The state of Oklahoma, actually, throughout the years, has had 3 different calls for a con-con. Last year, I was able to move legislation through the state Senate and actually the legislature, and the governor signed it. It is now law, to where Oklahoma has rescinded her call for the last 3 constitutional conventions. This is an extremely dangerous, I think the John Birch Society calls it Article 5. Article 5 of the Constitution does allow for the Constitution to be amended through a constitutional convention. The problem with a constitutional convention is it opens up for a new convention and everything is on the table. Our Bill of Rights would be open to be changed, and the Constitution and our nation as we now know it, I think, would be at great risk. So we passed our law to repeal that call for a convention, and I think legislators around this country would be well served if they would do that for their states as well.
And what are the dangers that you alluded to before regarding the con-con?
Well, everything is open for discussion, and it seems like every time a con-con is suggested and a state passes that, it's always for a very noble cause. It may be a pro-life legislation or something along that line. But if we want to amend the Constitution, we need to go through the amendment process through the state legislatures ratifying the amendment, just like we have done in the past. You know, if we had a new convention in this day and time, we don't have John Jay, we don't have Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin and John Adams. You know, we have the politicians of today, and I don't believe they have the brain trust collectively that our founding fathers had. So a con-con is extremely dangerous, and I believe that those states who have actually called for a convention throughout the years should do as we have done here in Oklahoma and repeal their call. It only takes 34 states, and we were dangerously close just a few years ago. 32 states had passed legislation for a con-con. Now it's dropped back down, and we're kind of in the safe mode. But I think legislators around this country need to look at their books, see if they have ever called, and if they have, they need to repeal it.
What would you suggest as a way of doing that? Would you call together like-minded groups in order to help fight this? Yeah, probably one of the best things to do is find like-minded people within your local state legislature. You know, there are people who love liberty around this country. There are people who understand their constitutional authority. They understand what the limits of the Constitution provides for in our rule of law. So find active legislators that are willing to repeal their calls. Get the people involved. Get with your local Tea Parties and the 912 groups. Those people now oftentimes have their ear to the ground and are more in tune with what our Constitution is all about than a lot of the politicians in the state houses. So find someone who is actively supporting the Constitution and ready to move liberty forward. Fantastic. Thanks for being with us today, Senator.
Thank you.